Now, as I said earlier, the Senate has decided that maybe they should start looking at Obamacare, but they don't think they're going to have anything in August. Meanwhile, we have Aetna leaving the last of its Obamacare markets. Remember, it was just a month or so ago that we had Humana and Aetna planning to do a merger, and both of them were losing massive amounts of money in Obamacare. Now, when that merger failed, Humana said, we're getting out of the market. And people said, we expect Aetna to completely exit as well. What was behind that merger that was so important? They wanted to create a situation with the insurance companies that was created with the banks when they all merged. They became too big to fail. And they knew at the time that if they became too big to fail, the government would bail them out, and then they would be the providers to everyone. And now we see what is happening with this. As Aetna is moving out of this market, and they used to be in the market in 15 states. Today, they announced plans to pull out of the final 2 states that they were in, Delaware and Nebraska. They had already talked about getting out of the other markets. But also, we saw the CEO of Aetna calling for a debate about single-payer health care. That is where this is going. That's what Hillary Clinton wanted when she tried to take over health care, was single-payer health care. And what is happening with this, what's behind all this, it's crony capitalism, folks. Listen to the CEO of Aetna. He said, if the government wants to pay all the bills, and employers want to stop offering coverage, we can be there in a public-private partnership to do the work that we do today with Medicare, with Medicaid at every state level. It's crony capitalism, folks. That is where this is all headed. And we told you from the very beginning that Obamacare was designed to fail. They wanted it to fail so the government could take it over, but not the government alone. The government was going to cut in its corporate friends to profit, the people who give them all the money. The people who pay them $500,000 to make speeches after they get out of the government. Those people, the crony capitalists, the private-public partnership that rapes us continually. And of course, they clarified this and said, well, the CEO was certainly not advocating for a single-payer system. That's where they're going. We told you from the very beginning. And they went ahead and said he was instead indicating his openness to debating it while pointing out that public-private partnerships have been the backbone of the more successful government health care programs. That is truly where this is headed. And as we look at what's happened this last week with the firing of James Comey, and I think it's kind of interesting because the news articles have pointed out that it's not really something that the public is as interested in as the media and the politicians are interested. You know, Rush Limbaugh said earlier in the week, he said, this was not a coup. Nobody replaced the president. It wasn't a coup when Richard Nixon fired a bunch of people. And in a sense, he's right. He is right. The president didn't change. The government at the top didn't change as far as you know. But see, the people in Washington, the bureaucrats, the press, they believe they are the government. The unelected bureaucracies are the government in their minds. And so to them, this was a coup. To them, this was merely the figurehead that is a representative of you great unwashed out there in America. That figurehead took one of the leaders of their government out. So to them, it was a coup because they are the real government. And I just would remind you that when we look at the situation with Comey saying, Hillary Clinton did all these felonies, but we're not going to prosecute her for it. No, not really any bad intent or anything like that, even though that's not a part of the statute, even though she did have intent. But remember that it was James Comey who prosecuted Martha Stewart for insider trading. And then everybody said, but wait a minute. People like Nancy Pelosi and all these other congressmen, they're doing insider trading all the time. They're allowed to make millions off of insider trading. They can tank an entire industry, and so can the Federal Reserve, folks. That's the whole point of the Federal Reserve. But they can do this kind of insider trading all the time, and nothing ever happens to them. And it was James Comey who said Martha Stewart is going to go to jail, but not Nancy Pelosi, not anybody in Congress who does that. That is the real government. And that was the coup that happened this week. And so now there is a counter coup where the media and the politicians, the Democrat politicians and the establishment Republicans are coming after Donald Trump because he ought to know that you don't ever fire one of these unelected bureaucrats. Well, that's it for tonight's news, and it's been a busy week, hasn't it? Join us again on Monday at 7 Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for the InfoWars Nightly News.
reason InfoWars Life has 5-star ratings on major third-party sites is because I want products I'm going to use for my family. I take this, my family takes this, and then it funds the operation with the most hardcore, truthful information you're going to find anywhere. So what you find in our news is the same thing you find in our products at InfoWarsLife.com.
If I ever forget to take them, I have a noticeable difference. I don't feel good. The nascent iodine is one of the ones that was life-changing for me.
Yeah, I actually have just run out of my Super Female. I had a few bottles at my house, and I've been taking it again, hitting the gym once again. Very exciting, feeling great, looking good. So, and I know my hair is luxurious once again. So obviously the Super Female is amazing. I love it.
Nascent iodine is essential. Survival Shield X2. If there's one product that I would say is life-changing that I would suggest, it's Nascent iodine Survival Shield X2. It's got a 5-star rating.
It's a win-win. InfoWarsLife.com.